Hi guys, as a person that loves and played most Resident Evil games, I wanted to share my personal ranking of each one in this video. Of course, feel free to criticize or agree with the ranking, but keep it clean. I acknowledge that some of my choices might be surprising. Well, I have a unique taste in games, but most of the ranking is tied to how each game made me feel when I played it. Whether it triggered nostalgic vibes, had good replay value, or impressed me with aspects like story, graphics, fun, soundtrack, etc. So, let's get started with the video. Starting with Resident Evil Zero, a game I played on the GameCube back in 2002. I remember grabbing the console mainly for the RE games. This one managed to keep that classic survival horror vibe the Resident Evil series is famous for. The gripping narrative unfolds with a unique dual protagonist system, allowing players to switch between characters Rebecca Chambers and Billy Cohen, adding depth to both the story and gameplay. Personally, I wasn't too into the story, and the replay value isn't the highest. However, the graphics were fantastic with pre-rendered backgrounds and character models. I particularly loved Rebecca in the game. Overall, I'd give this one an A rating. The original Resident Evil 1, the root of it all. This game is a gem, marking the beginning of an iconic franchise. It excels in creating an intense, claustrophobic atmosphere that fuels curiosity and mystery. The game holds fond memories for me. It used to scare the hell out of me when I was a kid. The soundtrack alone is haunting. I like its story. It's simple, it's original, it's cheesy at some parts. Never mention the horrible voice acting, but well, it was released in 1996. What do you expect? While not my absolute favorite RE game, I still love it a lot, so I will rate this an A. Resident Evil 1 Remake, the best remake I have ever seen on a video game. You don't know the times I wished for a GameCube console just to play this one. It was one of the reasons I bought the console for. This RE is a masterpiece. It takes the original's scary atmosphere and made it even more scarier, while cranking up the absolute stunning graphics and revamped gameplay. The mansion feels even more ominous, the puzzles are tighter, and the zombies are more terrifying and more believable. The addition of the new Crimson Head zombies just made the experience more terrifying than it already is. It's a brilliant reimagining that not only respects the classic, but elevates it to new, terrifying heights. Definitely adding this on the S tier, as it is one of my favorite RE games. Resident Evil 2 is a gaming legend. It is my favorite Resident Evil game, and the most RE game that I have ever played. I probably completed it like 20 times. It introduced the dual character system with Leon and Claire through A and B scenarios, offering unique perspectives and storylines. It has one of the best stories of all the RE games, best characters, and definitely the best soundtrack of them all. I can't tell you how nostalgic I get every time I enter the Raccoon City Police Department and the soundtrack starts playing. The awesome game introduced us to Leon S. Kennedy, an absolute favorite for most of the RE fans. It also introduced iconic characters like Ada, Hunk, and memorable bosses like Mr. X, William, and the Licker, adding tension to the gameplay. There is nothing I hate in this game. It remains a classic that shaped the horror gaming genre. Definitely an S rank. Resident Evil 2 Remake stands as one of the gaming community's most well-executed remakes and my second favorite remake of all time. It masterfully reimagines the classic 1998 title with stunning graphics, scary dark atmosphere, and a revamped control system. The game introduces the over-the-shoulder perspective, enhancing the horror experience. With its modern visuals, refined gameplay, faithful adaptation, and genuinely scary moments, Resident Evil 2 Remake sets the bar high for video game remakes, earning its place among the best in the genre. I'm going to give this an S rank. Resident Evil 3. Although a fan favorite unfortunately isn't my top pick, It didn't quite live up to the well-received Resident Evil 2. While it introduced the iconic Bow Nemesis T-type and a dodge mechanic which to this day I still don't know how to use properly, the game lacked the realism of its predecessors and felt notably shorter. Despite these drawbacks, I appreciated elements like the event choices, especially when Jill faces danger, adding replay value. The innovative gunpowder mixing was also a positive aspect. Overall, it's a decent game, but not my favorite. I am going to give it a B rating. Resident Evil 3 Remake. Now, I know many RE fans didn't quite vibe with this remake. Me, on the other hand, I'm all in for it. I think Capcom did a solid job here. But wait, before you start throwing hands at me, I get the disappointment you all are having towards this remake. It's shorter than the original. Lots of content got the axe, no DLC, and rumors of a director's cut that never materialized. I hate all of that too. But setting that aside, I adore the graphics, cutscenes, enjoyable gameplay, and the dodge mechanic that I know how to use this time. These aspects make the game amazing and totally worth replaying. I am going to give this remake an A rating. Resident Evil 4. Boy, this will get wild. You might call me crazy, but Resident Evil 4 isn't my RE game of the year. I know it's amazing, and my favorite character stars in it, but I wasn't fanboying about it as much as I did for Resident Evil 1 Remake back in the days. Don't get me wrong, I love this game a lot. I finished it 10 times probably, but the idea that it's action-based game, more than a survival horror, just loses a point in my dictionary. I would have wanted the prototype 3.5 more than the actual 4. Still, it's one hell of a game, and I personally enjoyed it a lot. It deserves an A spot in my opinion. Resident Evil 4 Remake did a better job of telling the story than the original, in my opinion. It boasts some of the best graphics in the series. Some of the new additions makes the game look whole, like crafting ammo, adding more side quests, and especially the new parry skill makes the game look hella cool. Personally, I would have liked more hand-to-hand combat animations, but we have to work with what we've got. The removal of QTE from the remake is a bit disappointing to me since I'm a fan of them. Nevertheless, this is an outstanding remake and deserves an S on the list. Resident Evil 5. Well, as it wasn't a remarkable game for me, it had some pros. It has a lot of action and a fast-paced gameplay, that and a co-op mode that allows you to play with a friend or an AI partner. As for the plot, it has a weak story and characters with some cliches and plot holes. It has some clunky controls, and it's not scary nor original, as it follows the same formula as Resident Evil 4 and loses some of the horror elements of the series. I'll give this a B. Resident Evil 6 isn't a Resident Evil game, it's more of an action movie with stupid Marvel budget. That doesn't mean it's not a fun game, it is in general. It just doesn't have the Resident Evil vibe that fans are looking for. The game features 4 main campaigns, each centered around a primary character. Of course, Leon's campaign had the most originality, as they brought back the zombies. As for Chris, it became more action-oriented. Jake? You get treated the superhero treatment. As for Ada, I really don't remember much of it. It wasn't a memorable game for me. Overall, it's a good game, but falls short as a true Resident Evil experience. I'd give it a B. Although Resident Evil 7 brings a fresh perspective to the series, introducing a first-person view that enhances the horror experience. However, some flaws include a deviation from the traditional Resident Evil formula with a stronger emphasis on first-person horror, which may not appeal to all fans. The narrative takes a somewhat disconnected turn from the overarching series storyline, and the shift to a different protagonist, Ethan Winters, may leave some players missing the iconic characters of previous entries. I personally don't like Ethan. I don't feel any emotional connection to him, and I kinda hated the story itself. I finished it once, just for the sake of being a person that finished most Resident Evil games. Sadly, I won't repeat that experience. I'll rate it a C. Resident Evil 8, known as Village, is the continuation of Ethan Winters' story, provides continuity from Resident Evil 7. The game boasts stunning visuals, atmospheric design, and introduces unique elements like the Merchant Duke. Though as you know, I'm not fond of Ethan and his story. Still though, RE8 is 10 times better than the previous installment. It introduced us to some memorable characters like Lady Dimitrescu and her 3 sexy daughters. The gameplay is enjoyable, offering some replay value. I'll give it an A rating. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoy this journey through my personal Resident Evil game rankings. I'm going to do part 2 soon, ranking the rest of the spin-off games. 86% of people watching my content are not subscribed. It would mean the world to me if you could help out by subscribing. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, whether you agree or disagree with my rankings. See you later in the next video.